Alright, so today we're going to be reviewing PewDiePie's
Plato's
video.
Republic.
Yep, so we're going to give our reaction to what he thinks.
Alright, here we go.
Plato time! Let's finally review Plato, the Republic.
It's already starting off with some
Plato time.
Why am I doing this? How did I go from... Fucking cringe. It's cringe for me to even bring it up, but like, I used to
How did
scream
we go
at horror.
from
Seminar to this?
Yeah, seminar to
Anyway, I'm new to
reviewing
philosophy,
Plato.
and I've always been told that I should always start with the Greeks. And no thank you, I always say. I would rather read...
what?
But finally, I looked up Plato's
Starting with the Greeks, though.
because it was fairly short, and I thought, why not? But I was very happily surprised. It was very good. It felt like looking through a window of time where you join the dinner table of ancient Greek philosophers discussing through the night their thoughts on eros, their desires, and it was very nice. So naturally, it led me to want to read The Republic, which is arguably Plato's
You wanna
greatest
read The
work,
Republic?
if not
No.
one of the greatest
What do you mean?
political Western
Great book.
philosophies of all
PewDiePie
time.
knows.
What a title, everyone!
think I
And
read
again,
it
I
in
was
the
very
last
happily
semester,
surprised how
or
much I
2
enjoyed it.
semesters
For
ago.
Yeah,
those who
I had
don't
to
know,
read
it's a dialectic. It's a dialogue between two people or a couple people with different views and somehow coming to some form of conclusion. And I find this style of writing to be so much more engaging and immersing. Same like I described with the Symposium. Plato's writing is about coming to a
Yeah, we just
conclusion
read the
together.
Symposium and Civ.
Plato
What'd you think
himself,
about that?
self-admittedly,
Thought it was
doesn't
pretty
have
good.
all the answers.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
That's why
Liked
I
the
picked this
readings
book,
on
because I think
Plotinus.
Yep.
it could be interesting to
This
discuss
is a
because
little
of
tough,
all
though.
of these things
Yeah, I
that I
disagree
just
with you
said.
today.
How do I make
I know.
videos?
I
Sorry,
won't let it
this
get
will
to
be a
me.
very
We'll let the
long
video continue, I guess.
But strap on, put on your vlog seat belts, and let's freaking do this. Please keep watching. I need the watch time. Just put on the video in the background. I don't care. Just keep watching. We have some couple important notes before we begin. Plato, the Republic, is a very controversial piece of literature. It challenges fundamental ideas, not just around society, but also how we view our own lives in ways that might feel a bit uncomfortable. It probably should make you feel uncomfortable, and I think that's a lot of times the point, as a way to challenge ideas. I don't know if that's true or not, I just threw that in there. But most importantly, I just want to say here early on, big disclaimer, I do not agree with every single idea that this author has. A necessary
That's good to know.
2019 disclosure, everyone. I think most people wouldn't agree
Skip
with all the
around a
ideas
little.
of he'll criticize his own thoughts, basically. I am not an expert. I
Good to know.
am not pretending that I know everything about this.
Skip around a
I
little.
will just give my own. I highly encourage you to proper grasp of this book. This is going great. First of all, I think came from to properly critique something. You need more than just the ideas. You need to understand where the ideas come from, and a lot of the more crazy ideas of Plato the Republic will make a lot more sense with these things in mind, I think, at least. So some
very
quick
good to see the
background.
history.
Basically, Plato
Alright.
lived in 428. Did I get that right?
28, let's look it up.
Plato did not live in 428.
Plato. I think Plato's birth and death is unknown.
Well, it has to be after Socrates, so. Oh, it just says classic.
Yeah, it just says classical Athens.
Alright.
So, let's look up Socrates' birth. Socrates is in 399.
Yeah.
So
Right,
that means
that's
Plato
right.
has to be born
428 BC in Athens,
after
Greek. In Greece, Athens.
399, and you just said Plato was born in, what, 428?
Yeah, that's just...
That would make Plato,
like,
what, almost 30 years older than Socrates. I don't think that's how it works.
The ancient
There's
Greek,
no
as I'm
way.
sure a lot of you are
As a
already
student,
familiar with,
you don't get taught by someone
a
who's
lot of our
younger.
Western civilization.
Especially with the
had
honor that the
massively
Greeks
Come
had
on,
back in the day.
PewDiePie, get your facts straight.
Art, literature, biology,
All I know, all I'm saying is that
architecture,
we know more about
politics,
Plato
and
than
much,
this guy.
much more. All of this
He
while
has no chronological order.
simultaneously fighting two wars, the Persian War and the Peloponnesian War. This has relevance. We will get there, I promise. Just keep the video going in the background. So during the Persian
He's
War,
pretty funny though.
where
Sorry, he has
the
104
Greeks
million
were
subs.
vastly outnumbered, I always imagine like the movie 300, even though that's clearly not what happened at all. But the Greeks were vastly outnumbered, but the way they defeat the Persians was from coming together. All the different city-states of Greece came together. Ancient Greece back then was
city-state
very
called
different
again,
from how we
Polis?
know Greek. Is it Greek or Greece? It's really annoying me how I don't know this. It was very different from what it
Greek
is today. It
or
spanned
Greece?
north
Pretty
and
sure
I
it's
think
Greece.
even across
Pretty sure,
Italy. All these different areas. I don't know exactly
should've
the,
done our reaction
the
of
geographics,
Plato's
okay, but it was
Republic
bigger,
instead of
okay?
doing just
And the older states
PewDiePie's
came
video.
Should've
together
did a
and
reaction of
like, no,
Plotinus.
Persia,
Yeah,
go away.
that would've been-
And they
I
did
mean,
it.
we already did
But
that in the
after
seminar,
this
though.
war, after defeating the Persians,
That already took
instead
a
of all the
hour and
states coming
50 minutes.
together, they broke apart and they fought against each other in a civil war
Got
known as
100
the
on my
Peloponnesian War,
participation.
where they fought against
joined
who
the
should
club.
be the ruler
Disagree.
of the city-states.
I disagreed twice.
It was a very brutal war.
Didn't
which you can
understand
tell
some
just
stuff because
from how
Plotinus is
long it
pretty hard to
lasted,
read because he
27
dissects
years.
Plato
And
so
eventually Athens
small
lost.
and makes
Plato
it seem
who lived during
every
this
little
time,
part
he
is
saw
so
the
different.
effects of this war. He
Back to the subject
people
here.
close to him that passed
yeah,
away,
yes.
and I think keeping this in mind is important for some of the more crazy ideas that are proposed in the Republic, because Plato wanted to avoid civil war at all costs, and I think keeping that in mind is important. I think is because that they in why their relationship. I didn't really know. I mean, I know
get into the
for
dialogue.
sure.
Yeah, we need some.
but
No more
famous for
background. We gotta
trapping
get
his
into the
opponents with his
into the
what
juice.
is it question.
All right,
In
here.
absolute truths.
Here's
So
the-
then,
the
what
intro
is
to
the
his-
Republic about, you might ask?
Right.
How long have I recorded?
Finally
Oh,
got
God.
to the summary.
Well, Socrates is famously not interested in finding
Socrates.
relative solutions. He wants to find absolute truths. If we don't know what something is, then how can we properly understand it? And Socrates is famous for trapping his opponents with his "what is it" question to give a definition of
TC
something.
did that to you
And the
today.
Republic begins
Yeah.
with such a question.
Well, do you
such
want
a
to be
what is
wise?
it
Do you want to
question.
be
In
Ignorant.
book one, the
Ignorant.
novel begins with
ignorant?
Socrates.
Whatever. Oh.
He is
Obviously
walking
wise.
home
I'm
from
wise
a
now.
religious festival, and he stumbles into some acquaintances who convince him to come over to their place. He sort of half reluctantly accepts. There's a couple of people in this group, but let's focus on Cephalus first. Cephalus is an older man, and the dialogue begins
I feel
with
like it's
this
all
"what
coming
is
back
it"
to me
question
right now,
coming
hearing
from Socrates,
Cephalus and all these
who
guys.
ask Cephalus, "What's it like to be so old?" This could be seen as a very rude question to ask someone, but Socrates wants to spark
Where's this guy
conversation,
from?
not about making
Sweden?
people feel good. Despite the very rude question, Cephalus responds in a
hair.
composed manner of
Him and
saying
Ibra.
that, well, I enjoy being old. I no longer feel controlled by
lord.
arrows. My desires doesn't control him anymore. He looked forward to being rewarded in his next life because he's lived an honest life. Socrates goes,
justice.
living a difficult life, give the axe back to him. Obviously, heavily brings, but let's say you borrow an axe from a friend because you need to chop some wood. And then later on, your friend demands to have the axe back, but the friend has gone completely insane. Would you still give the axe back to him? Obviously not. You
Would you give an axe back to your friend,
Who's gone crazy?
even though it's his property?
I mean, do I really know the guy?
It's your
Is
friend.
he a real
It's
friend?
your friend.
Alright.
But he might have gone psycho. But it is his
Nah.
property.
I wouldn't.
You-
Actually, I might,
you-
but then I would just run.
So you don't agree with the Pewds?
I don't know. I think he.
Would it be just?
It would be just to keep it, but it is his property.
No. It would be unjust to keep the axe because it's his property. But
Be just
if
to
you-
keep it because he would be
no,
crazy with the
because
axe.
you're technically breaking the law, and it would be unjust to not give it back, and it would be just if you kept it and gave it back to him when he was good and not crazy. But if you,
Well, what if he doesn't come back from this crazy and just goes?
then I feel like you have to give
That's
it back because it's his property, regardless of what he's gonna do with it.
So how are you gonna give it back? You leave it on his doorstep, run away?
Now you gotta hand it to him like a man.
Nope, not happening.
Well,
You wouldn't give a weapon to a crazy person.
See, he
So
knows.
that's
You wouldn't give a weapon to a.
No,
Yeah, but
justice
that's
is not living
PewDiePie's
up to your
idea.
legal
Yeah, well,
obligations.
I
guess you agree with
And-
PewDiePie.
I agree with him.
You are just wrong in this argument that you never even made. Cephalus, who's old, is not interested in this conversation, and he bids his farewell and leaves the group. But there are some younger remaining people in the group who has been listening, and
You know, let's skip
are
to halfway
unjust
in.
and maybe they don't want their child to go through the same career path. Then they might lie about what their job is before they go to work
Let's
every
go,
day.
you know,
They might say,
3/4
I'm
in.
going. It's interesting. In book 5 as well, we get to hear a little bit of Plato's ideas around feminism, which is not the best way to put it. I don't think. I think most people don't think that Socrates or Plato had any sort of ideas we have today, but he recognizes that men and women are different by nature, but in terms of ruling, who can be a ruler, he sees no difference between a man and a woman, and
I
that
agree.
they are both fit for.
That's a big.
It's a big claim back then.
That's a big claim back then. A lot of people would not agree with that because of the
whole sexism thing.
sexism and
But
who can have power, who can't. Even voting was such a big thing back then.
even like women couldn't vote in America for the longest time, and this is 400 BC just about, and he's talking about women.
No, it's like 300.
Hey,
350 BC sometime around there.
PewDiePie's wrong.
PewDiePie is wrong about that date. There's no way that's true.
But
I mean, that's crazy to think
it's a
that
pretty bold
someone would be thinking about that because
props to them.
if like Plato, if that idea really got around back then in ancient Greece, I think he would be
I mean, maybe
killed.
maybe it did go around, and maybe he got hate for it, but like we'll never know. Just like all the writings that they had that didn't get written down.
For the
Yeah.
role. I think even now, most people aren't too used to women being in a leadership. But again, 2,000 years ago, Socrates recognized that there is no difference, which can be seen as a sort of progressive thought to put forward, especially with the mind of how poorly women were treated back in ancient Greek. I think all they had to do was stay at home all day, taking care of the house, and they were generally treated poorly.
Gender
As
roles were a real
a
thing.
taste of blood, that will just be the start of it. The tyrant who is ruled by his lust and desires will not just bleed the city dry, but will become paranoid and kill all their enemies. This lust of blood will continue.
You think that's relevant today with like what's going on in North Korea with Kim Jong Un? Is it North or is it South? It's North.
It's north.
Yeah. I think that could be pretty true. Like he's gonna
Deplete their whole.
deplete that whole nation, and then his thirst for blood hasn't changed because he still is angry with America. He's still angry with all these other countries.
I saw this thing, and I think North Korea has something like 100 nuclear bombs or something like that.
Jeez.
But I think we have like somewhere around 4,000. So I don't know why everyone's so afraid. Let's
I know,
see.
but like, you would think like, it's just crazy how he has that whole nation just locked up and no one can really do anything about it.
How many nuclear
Because
bombs?
so many people there think of him as a god, and and of course we all from the outside believe he's a tyrant and all that.
It says they have about 30 to 60 nuclear weapons in North Korea.
Sounds about right.
United States nuclear weapons. We have 4,018 nuclear weapons.
Jeez.
So
That is a
Only
no one's doubting
People
about the
that
weapons.
flatter
It's just
the
like
tyrant will
if
They're
anyone
more
ever,
likely
if
to use
anyone,
them.
they're more likely to
that
use them because
challenges
he's like.
his position will.
Yeah, but if they ever used them, we'd probably just blow them
What
out of
happened to Saddam
existence.
Hussein? A lot of in the end of his regime, his military power was very
Yes, this
poor
does relate
because
to
he
the
had
Republic.
Yeah,
executed
this does, 'cause that
anyone,
military
and
power.
most of his best men
Kim
just out of
Jong-un
sheer
could
paranoia.
fall
Socrates argues
any
that
day
the
now.
least happy man in the world is this ruling tyrant, which actually starts to make a lot of sense if you think about it. Constantly living in this fear, this
Yeah, he is constantly
paranoia,
living in fear,
driven
probably
by
of the
your
U.S.
greed and
and
lust.
some of these
You
other
can't trust
countries
your
around him.
friends, constant fear
Some
of
of the threats that he
enemies.
makes.
Saddam
He
even
thinks he's more
himself had to
powerful than he
move
is.
where he lived every single day to protect himself. So not only is
Let's get
the
into the
ruling
conclusion,
tyrant the least
PewDiePie.
it makes me happy that I'm alive to even experience it, just from the sake of taking part of these ideas that were written so long ago.
Yeah, exactly. They do.
Know what
really
else
relate to
there
modern
exists,
era.
anything like
We were just talking
this.
about that
The
today.
life of Socrates is so interesting as well, and it continues in his other books as well. Again, this is why I'm so happy I picked up literature, because I think it's so interesting.
Yeah,
Take
kids,
part of
we should all
these,
start reading more.
discussion and ideas and
Just like
and
PewDiePie. Use him as
stories,
your
whether,
example.
You know, it's real or not. I find it very, very
Do you
fascinating
read for
to
fun?
escape into. I don't know what other medium could
I
possibly
sometimes I
accomplish
read
something
like the
this,
Boston
and I
Globe
think
and the
Republic
Wall
is
Street
such a
Journal
great example
sometimes,
of
but
that.
not as much as like
It discusses
pick up a
ideas
book.
that are still
Yeah.
very
Newspaper
much
though,
relevant today
articles, all that.
in
I'll
a way
read those.
All the
that
short ones.
is
All the
still
short.
very
Give me the
engaging
gist.
and
Give me the spark
I love
notes.
reading this book. I don't think I would have taken so much time with it otherwise. And if you
Yeah,
made
it
it
did
this
take
far,
a long.
thank you
This
for
was a
watching
long
it.
video, so
It wasn't
you
really
obviously
much of a
did care
review,
about
but
most of the
I got to bring up some of
ideas
my
that play
thoughts around
behind
it.
how
50
they
minutes
I would
long.
how
obviously
they
give it
related
10
to
out of 10.
us today.
I'll
And
announce
I
the
do
next book
like
review
how,
as
like,
always on
someone
Twitter
like this,
or the
like
Reddit,
a gamer
and keep an
sort
eye for
of
that. I would love to
influencer
hear your
online
thoughts
with this
in
many
the
followers is
discussion of the
trying to,
comment
like,
section or on the
spread
Reddit.
knowledge to
I'll
his
see you guys there.
viewers.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
He did try and he
Not
did
even
send
not
it
even
in a
spread knowledge, but like show like these ideas are coming from so long ago, and they still could be relevant and could be right to move like society and the modern era in the right direction.
yeah, and
with all that's been going on.
and he's using his platform to show like a lot of younger people about this kind of stuff and maybe would never be influenced or like shown it.
Yeah, like he was just saying, like keep it on in the background, keep the video going in the background. Like even if you're gonna pick up one thing, at least that one thing could be important for down the line or how you think of something. So
And even though some of the things he might have said were wrong, he's not an expert, and he's trying his best to say to his viewers the idea of this topic in an understandable way that's not too complicated.
yeah,
So-
definitely wasn't complicated. He really broke down the ideas, and we could all picture how they could be used today and how he could have used them back
Yeah.
then too.
And one of the things that we talked about that I didn't know that Socrates, or maybe it was Plato, one of them brought up was that feminism thing and the female
Yeah.
rulers. That was something new I learned. So props
And
to you,
and I
PewDiePie.
read The Republic in Civ,
I
and
didn't
I did not remember
I didn't
picking
remember
that up.
either. But then again, we only read, at least my class only read parts of it, so we could have missed it. But
Yeah.
that's all from Danny and Joe.
Yep. So that was our reaction to PewDiePie's
Republic.
Plato's
Republic
Republic.
review. So that's all
We'll
from
see
us.
We'll see you in seminar next week.